Brought to you by...
We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
A very good evening once again. Thank you so much for tuning in for the second edition of News Tonight. We start with a look at the top stories.
Brought to you by...
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
MP Francis Zake challenges jurisdiction of the Parliamentary Disciplinary Committee. Police intercept 6 juveniles being trafficked to the United Arab Emirates. Economic analyst assesses how the Ukraine-Russian war could affect Uganda. While demonstrations are on to call for an end to the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Was brought to you by... Everywhere you go, MTN.
Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Micheal Lukomwa. Elizabeth Nakakoni joins us for sign language interpretation. In a first story, Vice President Jessica Alupo has pledged government's commitment in the to work together with religious organizations in the improvement of livelihoods of Ugandans. She was representing government at the installation of the first bishop for the newly established Orthodox Diocese of Jinja. We have the details to this report.
Sylvester Kisitu has been enthroned as the new bishop of the Orthodox Diocese of Jinja and Eastern Uganda. Bishop Kisitu, born in 1982, was enthroned at a colorful ceremony presided over by the newly enthroned Metropolitan of Kampala and all Uganda, His Eminence Jeronimus Muzeyi, and attended by the Vice President Jessica Alupo, who represented President Museveni. In her remarks, Jessica Alupo congratulated the new enthroned bishop, saying that a new diocese meant strong beginnings.
This morning, Archbishop, is yet another very glorious morning in the history of the Orthodox Church, because the Synod sat in Egypt and appointed 3 leaders of the Orthodox Church for Uganda at once. I think that is a record which the Orthodox Church and the whole of Uganda must be very thankful to God about. So having said that, I would like to congratulate you very sincerely becoming the very ever first bishop for Jinja and the whole of Eastern Uganda. Congratulations. I know that this is Eastern Uganda, and I have a friend called His Grace Emmanuel Obo. He always reminds me that he works in an area which has 12 tribes, but he always reminds me that the 12 tribes are working very harmoniously and they coexist very well. But the 12 tribes are always requesting that you reach all of them. They compete for your attention. And I am happy that you are very energetic and I am sure that you will reach to all of them when you are evangelizing and transforming them. But against that background, Your Eminence, I think it is a reason His Excellency the President sent you a gift. The name of the gift is Pajero Mitsubishi. I think after seeing that you are going to shepherd the 12 tribes, in order to reach them, that word sport now has a symbolic meaning. So you'll be able to reach those 12 tribes, I think in 12 days or in 12 minutes, using that Mitsubishi Pajero from His Excellency the President.
The new bishop thanked God for what he called a blessing of a new diocese and called for a renewal of efforts to reignite the involvement of the journey of Jinja. Reporting for UBC TV News, Stephen Kanakulia, Sempa.
The Municipality Member of Parliament, Francis Zake, has challenged the jurisdiction of the Parliamentary Disciplinary Committee to investigate allegations of misconduct leveled against him, I beg your pardon, of misconduct against him to the person of the Deputy Speaker. While appearing before the committee, Zake said that the allegations against him are malicious and in bad faith.
Legislator Francis Zake, together with his two lawyers Aaron Kiz and Benjamin Katana, while appearing before the Parliament's Committee on Rules and Privileges, said that the misconduct allegations leveled against him happened outside the precincts of Parliament and therefore putting in question the jurisdiction of the committee to investigate the matter.
As such, I am here only out of respect I have for you, honorable colleagues, and this institution.
Zake told the committee chaired by Bugweli County MP Abdul Katunto that the allegations against him are malicious, describing the proceedings of the committee as being engulfed with different conflicts of interest.
My security detail, to which I am entitled as a Commissioner of Parliament, was unceremoniously withdrawn without any explanation. That was my first punishment, Mr. Chairperson. Mr. Chairperson and colleagues, I was read a member of Parliament on all occasions that have been tortured.
The committee agreed to give Zake and his lawyers one more day to put their reasons as to why they think the committee has no jurisdiction to investigate the matter in writing.
We received instructions from Honorable Zake this morning, and that's why we are not able to put in the submissions in writing. But the importance, the paramountness of this matter is such that we need to balance between urgency and the need to ensure a fair, fair and adequate defense of our client. We so pray.
The issue of jurisdiction is so important that if anybody thinks we are doing something without powers, I think we should find a way of resolving it and resolving it properly. We are not going to be unreasonably rigged. However, I don't think we shall give you the 3 or so days. We are going to give you 1 day.
At the beginning of this month, Martin Mapenduzi raised the matter on the floor of Parliament, saying he intended to move a motion to have MP Zake relieved of his duties as a commissioner for degrading the integrity of Parliament and office of the Deputy Speaker in breach of Rules 84 and 85 of the Rules of Procedure and Paragraph 5 of the Code of Conduct of Members of Parliament. Shamim Naiga, Gloria Gutabinji, UBC News.
Police has directed Kampala Division commanders to intensify operations against urban robbery, which is escalating with car break-ins and bag grabbing. The police spokesperson Fred Enanga has displayed some CCTV footage exposing techniques being used by the robbers in Kampala.
For him is here, you see this head here.
On Kampala streets, pedestrians are not safe and are exposed to urban robbers who grab their belongings. Police have unearthed new techniques these thieves use to break into people's vehicles.
They managed to track and arrest a border rider of motorcycle registration number UFG 326Z, identified as Mawazi Jimmy, after he was captured at various CCTV zones. The suspect on the border would constantly alert his colleagues in motor vehicles with vehicle intrusion devices, who would immediately come into contact with the targeted vehicle, break in and rob the cash and other variables.
Kampala Police Division commanders are directed to reinforce operations during rush hours in Kampala.
We also want to encourage financial institutions, supermarkets, other business premises, hotels, to adopt real-time monitoring. Real-time monitoring is that mechanism which enables the owners of these venues to target harden their parking lots.
Police have rescued 6 young adults who were being trafficked by the preferred recruitment agency to Arab countries. The aviation police intercepted the movement at Entebbe International Airport. Police are hunting managers of the company whose license expired.
They are transported out of the country. They are taken straight either into a brothel or a camp. Their travel documents are immediately confiscated to prevent them from fleeing. And then the victims taken through a lot of sexual and physical exploitation, acts of humiliation, torture, others lose body organs.
In other development, Uganda prisons have closed at least 50 COVID-19 isolation centers as a response to the country's status of relaxing on strict anti-corona measures.
Using isolation centers, but we are going back to the traditional way of, if you are arrested in Gaise, you go to Naweru. If you are arrested in Mukono, you go to Kauga without having to crisscross Kitaria and the like.
Visitation to inmates is now okayed and other measures have been relaxed.
Normal prisons operations, including court operations and visitations. This is very important that now we have allowed visitors in the normal setup.
Russia has more than doubled its interest rates to 20% in a bid to halt a slump in the value of its currency. The Bank of Russia raised the rate from 9.5% after the ruble sank 30% after new Western sanctions. The currency then eased back to stand 20% down. The collapse in value erodes the currency's buying power and could wipe out the savings of ordinary Russians.
Here calling for peace and for U.S. and international leaders to stop Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Amid heartbreak, an emotional show of solidarity. More than 1,000 people gathered at the state capitol Sunday to pray for peace and an end to war.
Russians don't want this war. I know this. I know my relatives in Russia. I don't believe Russian people want to fight with Ukraine. We are brothers.
Russia's attack on Ukraine weighing heavily on Daria Mishakova, who's half Russian and half Ukrainian, with loved ones in both countries. Her sister sent her this video of their home bombed by Russians earlier in the day. Mishakova fears for her sister, who has 3 children, one just 4 months old.
I'm really scaring. I'm scaring Putin. I don't understand what he tried to do.
Many speaking out against Russian President Vladimir Putin and urging U.S. and international leaders to intervene. Natalia and Andrei Prokopev, recent immigrants from Russia, say the ability to demonstrate and to criticize Putin makes them feel empowered.
You can't do anything in Russia, and here you feel very free to go outside and say what you think about the government of Russia.
The vigil coming as Putin put nuclear forces on high alert.
I am really scared about red button.
And before the United Nations meets Monday for a rare emergency session, and when Russian and Ukrainian delegations are scheduled to meet. Many within the Slavic community following the developments closely, finding some comfort and community in a time of extreme uncertainty. And during the vigil, many called for prayers and for people to call their senators and urge them to speak up and act. They say that silence would be endorsement or even condoning the atrocities happening in Ukraine.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has led to a coalition of NATO-aligned forces, countries, to set measures meant to sever Russia from the global financial system. Among them is the Society for World Interbank Financial Telecommunications SWIFT. This has caused a dramatic escalation in the financial pressure on Russia. The border blocks select Russian banks from using the SWIFT, the international payment system employed by banks to send money around the world. Let's look at how this is going to be done.
Dr. Samuel Kazibwe, an expert on international relations and diplomacy, says the move will certainly be painful for the Russian banks and markets to raise money in foreign markets for large domestic infrastructure projects, most likely hampering growth.
Banks, more than 10,000 banks globally, rely on SWIFT system to send messages that are used as a backup for transferring monies across banks and across countries. So the moment you kick Russia out of this system, you're essentially going to cripple its economy. In fact, the sanctions have not been immediately effected.
Businesses globally will be affected as Russian businessmen affiliated to President Vladimir Putin around the globe are also affected, the largest being Roman Abramovich, owner of Chelsea, a prominent football club in England.
It's not only Russia that is going to be affected, because you see, Russia does not trade alone. It trades with the entire world. Most of the companies and banks you have in other countries have got offshore companies in Russia. So businessmen and company owners in United States, in Europe, Latin America, and some from Africa are also going to be directly affected.
Africa is certainly not isolated because fuel prices are likely to skyrocket and prices of other commodities such as wheat.
If Western countries are stopped from using the Russian airspace, you certainly expect a rise in commodity prices, because this is the easiest route for commercial planes carrying goods from Asia. That is the easiest route you have even for Africa, because you do not have many commercial planes that can fly direct from Asia to Africa.
Kampala lawyer Isaac Semakade faces charges of offensive communication and cyber stalking after being interrogated at CID in Chibuli. Police CID spokesperson Charles Twine has confirmed that lawyer Semakade appeared at the CID headquarters following the summons. Although he was arrested immediately after the interrogation, he was later released on police bond.
City lawyer Isaac Semakade was summoned last week by CID and has appeared at CID head offices in Chibuli. Isaac Semakade was escorted by lawyer Gawaya Tegule. The media was denied access to the interrogation room, but Isaac Semakade was charged with 2 offenses of offensive communication and cyber stalking after.
At the moment we are investigating 2 probable charges, because ultimately we cannot confirm of the exact charge if the file is not sanctioned. But we are looking at cyber stalking, which is an offense provided for under the Computer Misuse Act, as well as offensive communication.
It is alleged that lawyer Isaac Semakade, by using his social media platforms, offended the person of the head of the High Court Civil Division, Judge Musa Sekana.
We want to condemn this vice. It is first of all steadily increasing, and even the perpetrators are such arrogant. You know, they try to glorify it. Somebody tells you arrogantly that it is his right to abuse. He will call you foolish, he will call you a done-wit, he will call you all sorts of bad words, and he claims that it is his right to do so. Disregarding Article 43, subsection 1 of the Constitution, which calls for respect of other people's rights. Yes, you may be having a right to freedom of speech and expression, but you must at the same time respect the rights of other people.
After being interrogated, lawyer Isaac Semakade addressed the media.
We'll argue the point with the police officers. I hope that this misguided case will bring wider recognition of the need for fundamental change. We're here to do a very important public service. to trim the powers of a judge back to the straight and narrow, thin parameters of the law. Not even judges are above the law.
Gawea Tegule Semakade's lawyer expressed the zeal of defending his client in court over the alleged offences.
We are excited about the prospect of this case going to court. We think that it will be a very good chance for us to cross-examine a dignitary. A judge of the High Court is a dignitary. The nature of the case is such that it will make for great viewing.
Isaac Semakade will again appear at the CID headquarters on the 21st of March 2022. Natong Rebecca, Namamode Deborah, UBC News.
The digital revolution has changed education with the rise of e-learning and teaching undertaken on digital platforms, but with each the e-learning imbalances have been backed and failed. Spokesperson, Ministry of Education and Sports, Dr. Dennis Mujimba, told UBC that the e-learning in tertiary and higher learning institutions will pave way for primary and secondary school levels.
Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, e-learning has become a form of learning outside the normal class instruction or lectures. Computers and smartphones are what learners use to access information.
I think it's very essential, just by looking at the interest of homeschooling, media teaching during the pandemic, because it's changing the way learning happens. So we're looking at traditional learning, and now we're looking at 21st century learning, which has been brought by online tools. And by that, we're looking at the time being saved by a student, because if a student is going to take up digital learning, that means they're going to save more time to do other productive work.
The Ministry of Education and Sports has approved e-learning in tertiary and higher learning institutions to pave for the ministry's plan for adaptation of e-learning in primary and secondary education.
We had the home study materials approach. Then we also had promotion or encouragement of online learning or e-learning, but specifically for the tertiary and other institutions, the higher education subsector. For the basic and secondary education levels, we have not yet come up with those guidelines yet, because it is not yet our official position that e-learning or online learning should be adopted in that level.
However, the high cost of internet connectivity has created learning imbalances across the country. It leaves the poor and less privileged learners behind.
Digital learning is a bit expensive. Yeah, it's not cheap. Because now you're going to, if they had tried to push for radio learning, which was good. Yeah, everybody, but not everybody can afford a radio. So the government was supposed to have distributed radios, but that didn't happen. So the other alternative, which is the cheapest, the other alternative would have been internet. But internet is very expensive.
With the rising learning inequality triggered by digital learning, government will set policies to solve the issue.
A fire blaze hit Bilal Primary School in Waisi, a suburb in Kawempe Division, gutting 2 boys' dormitories and destroying property. Parents who caught wind of the incident rushed to collect children, but school administration denied them access.
A night fire gutted Bilal Primary School in Bwaise and worth property destroyed. Parents stood at the school gate as others watched from the top of the perimeter wall. No journalist was allowed inside the compound. After a while, the parents were allowed to enter. The deputy police spokesperson, Kampala Metropolitan Luke Owesigire, confirms no student was injured.
All students were gathered for the evening madarasa, and no one was in the dormitory, so we didn't register any fatalities or injuries during this incident.
The Lord Mayor, Erias Lukwago, says, according to conversations with the school administration, police must investigate the fire.
This time round, we are pushing for serious forensic examination of the debris here and establish exactly what caused this fire. and they take action against the perpetrators.
The Ministry of Education spokesperson advises schools to be on alert over people entering school premises.
The school needs to have controlled access because the entry, it looks like most of the fires that were intentional, the perpetrators seem to have been coming from outside the school environment. So we said, can there be controlled access? Put basic things, have a register book, know who has access to the school premises. Number two, if you can afford, and really all learning institutions should think about this, put in place CCTV, okay, closed circuit television system, cameras, so that you're able to monitor 24/7. A human being may sleep, but this machine, once it is set well, it will keep on recording all activity around the premises.
Police forensic was at the scene for more investigations. Brian Tumwine Biaruhanga, Andrew Sebira, UBC News.
The General Court Martial has set the 1st of March 2022, which is tomorrow, to start hearing the case where 32 National Unity Platform supporters are accused of unlawful possession of ammunitions. Although the case hearing was to kick off today, however, the two accused persons were not in court, which prompted an adjournment of the case. Meanwhile, the same court has sentenced a UPDF officer, Private Omen Sam, and a civilian Asia Nathan to 33 years in prison on the offense of aggravated robbery.
Abayigizi b'ekibiina kya National Unity Platform
We'll get to that story later on. Meanwhile, Minister for Works and Transport General Katumba Wamala has allayed fears amongst the public on the Muyembe-Nakapiripit Road. The 92.2 kilometer stretch was contracted to Turkish firm Polat Yol Yapi Sanai V Tikaret at about 300 billion shillings in March 2020, but the works have been slow.
Works and Transport Minister General Katumba Wamala and a team of technocrats have inspected roadworks on the 92.2 kilometer Muyembe-Nakapiripit Road. This road was to support trade by connecting regions, and our Works Minister Katumba Wamala is optimistic that despite being behind schedule, will deliver on time.
He has made a commitment that is going to be able to deliver the project within the project timeline. Maybe with a few addition, he may ask for some extensions because of, again, of the time lost. But we are not going to allow him to be here for all the time.
The road contracted to a Turkish firm will cost over 300 billion shillings and starts at Muyembe and through districts of Bulambuli, Kwen, and finally Nakapiripit.
Yes, it is true we had some issues, but we have been encouraged by what we have seen on the ground in terms of his new effort to salvage, to recover the time lost. Of course, he had what would I call them, excuses, like the COVID time and all that, but we have all been through COVID and we have to recover. We can't always use COVID as an excuse.
The project expected to be complete in 36 months plus an additional 12 is co-funded by the Islamic Development Bank and Government of Uganda.
Yes, we thank you so much for watching. We'll now take a very short break. On return, we have more. Please do not miss. Thank you.
MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily bundle of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 30 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 80 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 180 MBs. Dial *150*10# or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN.
MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Professor Maggie Chigozi states, the time is now for all of us to get vaccinated.
When we have one person who's not vaccinated, it affects everybody around them, most especially the ones close to you. Keep your family safe. Anyone right now who's over 18 should go and get vaccinated.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water, or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others, and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and partners.
Start the year off with My Airtel 4G smartphone. You get to enjoy free 1 GB data valid for a month and 100% bonus data every month for 3 months at only 250,000 Uganda shillings. This includes free data spread over 3 months worth 86,500 Uganda shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 Uganda shillings only. Visit the nearest Airtel shop and get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Raising voices.
As a teacher, I have the opportunity to shape how children grow and learn. I believe in creating a non-violent school where children feel safe and respected. I promise to lead by example and create a different kind of relationship with my learners, one that helps them grow.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Thank you so much for watching and welcome back from the break. We'll go straight to that story of ours about the NUP supporters that were at the General Court Martial, that were supposed to be at the General Court Martial, but the adjournment took the case to tomorrow, the 1st of March. Here is it.
A third National Unity Platform supporters have appeared at General Court Martial in Machindi to answer charges of unlawful possession of fire ammunitions before Lieutenant General Andrew Guti. Prosecution led by Lieutenant Colonel Raphael Mugisha informed court that they are set to start the hearing of the case. But court was not set to hear the case since the 2 suspects, Muhaidin Kakoza and Livingstone Katushabe, were not in court. According to the prison authorities, Muhaidin Kakoza was on medical check-up after his displeasure with Chairman Guti in the last court sitting, while Livingstone Katushabe was on treatment.
We shall be back here tomorrow. We know that they'll come up with another excuse. Even the excuse of the person being sick, we should not only rely on the spoken words of an officer who is not even a medical officer, is not from the prisons, who said that this person is terribly sick. They would have, in the very least, come with some bit of documentary evidence to show that this person is admitted.
Defense legal team also requested for full disclosure from prosecution since the case was set for hearing.
This morning in court, they have mentioned that they are ready to give us those materials. When we visited the prosecutor's office, they said they are not ready with the file. And I know that court has said hearing is starting tomorrow.
Lieutenant General Andrew Guti adjourned the matter to 1st March 2022. Meanwhile, the same court has sentenced a UPDF officer, Private Omenesi Sam, and civilian Esian Nathan to 33 years in prison on offences of aggravated robbery.
Private Omeno Sam, also known as Akoi Joseph, you are sentenced to 33 years and 25 days imprisonment. Esia Nathan, you are sentenced to 33 years and 25 days imprisonment.
The 27th October 2021 at Maga village in Bukedia district stole 700 Ugandan shillings from Dewo Pendesi using an AK-47 rifle. In another development, court has released the NRM cadre Francis Bruno Bazibu on a non-cash bail of 10 million Ugandan shillings and surety is 20 million non-cash.
The applicant should report to this court twice a month after every 14 days on Wednesdays. The applicant deposit his travel document, that's a passport, to registrar's office. The applicant should not go beyond the limits of Kampala and Wakiso district without court's permission.
I want to thank the courts, the lawyers, my family members, our friends.
I want to glorify God because He has kept Francis safe and alive.
The NRM cadre Bruno Francis Bazibu is facing charges of unlawful possession of fire ammunitions and theft.
Otherwise, we are ready. If the matter is fixed for hearing, we shall still come back to court and argue the case against our client.
Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
Traders in Karamoja were attacked by warriors who fired bullets, injuring one person. They were transporting fresh food to Moroto district midnight. The incident occurred at the area between Kamusalaba and Lorengadwat along Nakapiripit Road in Inabilatuk district.
Of 2 weeks, you register 3, which means the issue of road thuggery is coming back on road.
The Karamojong survive on food from regions like Bugisu, Sebei, Teso, Lango and Acholi. This is what resulted in 2 armed robbery.
That if the business people from Bale and other areas, they don't come to us and bring for us food here, there will be a problem because
if they start shooting now vehicles like this, then the vehicles may fear to bring for us food, and the general community is most likely to suffer if these business people withdraw.
Armed Karamojong warriors lay ambush and rob, at times kill people or traders who use the road at night.
A truck which was coming from Kabong was shot around Nobel. Of course, the truck managed to maneuver. The driver managed to maneuver until they reached to L Center. 2 people were shot and they are in the Cottage hospital for treatment. And then there was an incident after 2 days from that, where again another vehicle which was coming from Kabong side was again shot.
Warriors shot at a truck carrying perishable foods from Bale after they blocked the road 5 kilometers from Lorengedwat sub-county, injuring 1 person.
Two of them they caught me.
Traders attribute this to the increasing security, and the regional police spokesperson Mike Longole says police is doing what is possible to bring the situation back to normal.
We are seeing that it is accelerating, it is increasing. My call for the government is to see that, to enforce, to give the people who are concerned about security, to give us the security. Government should give us security such that the vendors can move freely.
An area secure needs a concerted effort from the leaders, from the general community, who all join hands.
The community in Yumbe district want National Forestry Authority to clarify on the current human activities out at Mount K Central Forest Reserve. The forest reserve, which inhabited the depleted Afzelia African species, has suffered destruction from encroachers who have exhausted large parts of the forest.
Mount Kei Forest Reserve has been destroyed as illegal occupants carry out farming, charcoal burning and illegal logging, despite being evicted by the National Forest Authority 3 years ago. During a meeting, the natives stressed out the need for massive sensitization on Kei.
You go to Para. You can walk with the animals together. They don't run away because they were properly guided with the community. But here we had very poor game rangers, we had the poor forestry guards. They did not even sensitize these masses like this.
Most locals still believe their activities in the forest are lawful.
Because for us as Yumbe, I might have 3 women, another one has 4 women. Now assume I have 12 children. Where will these children sit? We know the importance of the forest. We know the importance of the trees. Mine is a request to the government, and also mine is a request to you people of the forest. Get another area for our people. Not that all people should be chased away.
The National Forest Authority coordinator Robert Owinyi says awareness will end illegal activities in the forest reserve.
We do not want to act inhuman, and we gave ample time for people who had crops in the forest reserve to harvest them and move out. So the question that comes in my mind, we are now in February 2022. And again I'm hearing people, they are complaining that they are being evicted. Whom are they evicted? I thought I left when I removed every encroacher from that forest. So who again went back? Who took you back?
Gazetted in 1938, the 40,689 hectares of Kei Central Forest Reserve is one of the 37 Central Forest Reserve in West Nile.
So whatever takes place in Mount Kei here does not affect all the people around it, but they all...
Government has promised to support bush war veterans all over the country because of their contribution to development. This follows reports that bush war veterans in Toroko district have never received anything in regards to their contribution towards the liberation of Uganda.
The State Minister for Rwenzori Ruwero Triangle, Alice Kaboyo, has assured the bush war veterans all over the country that the government will continue appreciating their contribution towards liberating this country. While meeting the bush war veterans of Ntoroko district at Karugutu Secondary School, Kaboyo said that government appropriated money as Kasimo, which is distributed quarterly to the registered war veterans in the country, and promised that those who have not yet got theirs will soon receive.
Government does not have all the money to pay all the veterans at once. So whichever money they get as Kasimo Fund, it is always given to those that are on the list to be paid.
She advised the veterans to prepare themselves properly so that they can benefit from the newly introduced program for parish development model, which was launched on Saturday by the President, aimed at fighting poverty at household level. The senior presidential advisor for the Rwenzori region, Christine Mohindo, said that veterans in the Rwenzori region have been supportive to the ruling government since liberation.
But at least what we looked for, we have got it.
1,380, only 561 have been paid. So the 729 are not yet paid.
The minister commended the bush war veterans for standing together with the government they fought for. She requested them to educate the young ones on the core values of why bush war was staged.
Enjoy convenience today with Airtel Money School Pay. Dial *185#. Select option 6, school fees. Select option 2, school pay. Select option 1, pay fees. Enter student number. Enter the amount. Enter
enter the PIN number to complete payment. Beat the back-to-school hustle today. Pay school fees conveniently using Airtel Money. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily band of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 30 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 80 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 180 MBs. Dial *150*10# or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN. MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome from the break and thank you so much for watching. We now go talk business news tonight. Kampala Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago has called for the implementation of the resolutions made by the Council in the Market Ordinance to reduce increasing land wrangles in the markets. Lukwago was retaliating to a 3-day ultimatum given by traders of Wandegea market following the alleged mismanagement of the market and deployment. Traders say they have been restricted from carrying out business activities, hence asking for government intervention, as we see in this report.
Abantu bano nga bamaze otuwa embalirira eyo emyezi gino esatu gye yabawa n'agamba nti akatale obutale ba market masters oba KCCA etekinge over ate era erekere eddembe abasuubuzi okuba nga beerondamu obukulembeze bwabwe.
The market is now being guarded by police. Traders are now asking for market masters to manage Wandegea market due to the expiry of the old leadership tenure.
Naye tulabanga tufunyemu obuzibuzibu kuba otuuka n'otya n'okutya okuyingira akatale olw'amagye okuyimirira ku mulyango. Ensonga y'emyogo gireetera abantu bano kati twawulira nti Maisumolo yazikwata simanyi n'akola mobile money endala simanyi yakola manerenda. Mbadde nsaba President Museveni oteekewo akakiiko akagobera ku ssente z'emyoga.
Kampala Capital City spokesperson Juliet Bukirwa-Walakira has however urged traders to be calm as they solve market issues.
KCCA is working out new management structures and we will communicate publicly at the right time. So what we are calling for right now is calmness, peace, and no controversies, so that by the time this comes up, we'll all be ready.
Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago asked for the implementation of resolutions of the market ordinance made by the council.
Enteekateeka eri mu guidelines eziga nti n'obukulembeze buno naye baagenda ne babuleeta buleesi obukulembeze mu butale ddala ssente bali ku ddembe Nakasero n'obutale obulala kati nga bwajja buvi kuva waggulu ne babukatawo ku bantu kati ng'ekyo kikyamu era nga ffe tugamba nti yadde bwe tulinda amateeka gali gakolebwe wabeerewo okulonda.
In another development, all taxi park operators are in jubilation following the removal of containers erected in their park.
Our teams, enforcement teams, have gone ahead to remove some of them because they're there illegally. It's not because we are battling for the land, but it's because we are saying whatever you put in the park must get approval from the authority.
Sudat Kai, UBC News.
Ugandans are primed for good business in the United Arab Emirates, with opportunities best in agriculture for products like fish, meat, pineapples and ginger. Our reporter has something from Dubai.
In 2018, the government of Uganda signed a memorandum of understanding at the United Arab Emirates Business Forum in Dubai to enable farmers export more agriculture produce to the United Arab Emirates.
One of the leading destinations and a premier fresh food marketplace for agricultural produce from all across the world to the United Arab Emirates is the waterfront market. Located in the heart of the city, the market represents a fusion of traditional Emirati souk and the multicultural spirit of the city in a modern purpose-built facility.
Waterfront market is really a state of art. It have really four main markets, which is the fish market, which is the biggest fish market in the region, which have more than 500 fish stalls. And then we have the meat market, then we have the fruit and vegetable, dry goods. Daily we receive around more than 250 tons of fish. And then the fruit and vegetable more than 150 tons. $75 tons per day in the meat and poultry.
With Uganda's organic produce, it is easy to penetrate the market in the UAE.
I would like to emphasize to Ugandans and especially government that here where we work, market is available especially for agricultural produce like fish, meat, sweet bananas and pineapples.
Waliwo akatale k'ennyaanya, akatale ka kamulali, ettangawuuzi. Kugamba buli lwantu nga ssekinoomu, omuntu yenna alinako konna asobola kujja n'atekinga that opportunity n'akola kubangako akatale we kali.
State Minister for Trade Harriet Ntabazi has assured the country that land has been secured for the construction to construct Buy Uganda, Build Uganda centers. She was gracing the World Tailoring Day celebrated at the Uma Showground in Kampala.
The World Tailors' Day is celebrated to mark the birth anniversary of William Elias Howe, who invented the sewing machine. In Uganda, the day has been celebrated on the theme of building a long-lasting solution to help the tailoring industry. State Minister for Trade Harriet Ntabazi assured the country of land on which to construct Buy Uganda, Build Uganda centers to boost trade. She also promised to address the issue of taxation while also improve extension services to tailors across the country.
Okwebererawo ne tu manufacturing raw materials from here. Ate tulina n'ekizibu cotton akyali mutono nnyo. So twagala okuteeka mu ate omutindo okulaba nti abantu ne babagamba nti cotton taleeta sente nnyingi naye tumwagala.
The chairperson Uganda Tailors Association, Kenneth Sekimpi, talked of miles walked and the journey ahead.
Twagala tubeere ne ba associate professors in Uganda nga ba tailors bokka. Lwaki abali mu education ndi oyo professor ali mu education, oyo professor ali mu medicine, oyo professor accountant, naffe tujja kuba ne ba professor abaffe. We are ready to work with the Australia government ne German bagenda tuyambako.
Uganda has about 3 million people directly employed in tailoring, with many expected to join following intervention by private sector foundation.
The project we are working to put together with NITIL and UTA, at the moment we are at a number of 47,615 work opportunities. That is our project, and not in any other area, but in tailoring.
Tailoring requires creativity and must be increased to attract investment.
Uganda Small-Scale Industries Association and the Virtual Factory Network are empowering the cottage industry. Through a Makers Expo, the entrepreneurs have accessed networking opportunities, acquired new skills to grow their businesses, and are now focused on expanding their markets beyond their locality.
Uganda small-scale industries have the capacity to absorb unemployed youth to catalyze industrialization. However, the sector faces challenges such as high operational costs, access to affordable credit facilities, cheap raw materials, and lack of stable market to sell products and services.
At first, the challenge that I got was having things which are not satisfied by UNBS, and you do fear, you run away, you keep, you hide. But when we got out with UZIA, everything went in very well.
Yeah, I call upon Ugandans to come and support each other. And we have to get this things that are made from here. Uganda is the best country. We get real natural things in Uganda.
In 2020, Motive developed a digital platform dubbed the Virtual Factory Network to link cottage industries to resources needed to scale their businesses. VFN emphasizes business commitment, right attitude, skills, and standards for business success.
I want to get people out to Motive, come and see us in the space, understand what we're doing, become a part of our community, and be able to stay up to date on what we have, programs that we have on offer. We're doing all of this as Motive. We're doing it all in partnership with the Innovation Village and Nintendo, as well as MasterCard's Young Africa Works program. So it really gives us an opportunity to help young people grow their businesses and create work opportunities for young people.
Analysts argue that support is needed to connect players in the cottage industry to ease access to trade opportunities, ventures building services, and market platforms. A cottage industry is a business or manufacturing activity carried on at home.
So since 1979, we've been able to grow over 6,000 members, and we believe that through the platform that we bring on board, we've been able to see that there is growth, there is registration of these businesses, there is payment of taxes, there is understanding tax, there is also value addition in this country.
For example, Uganda Industrial Research Institute, where I work, has a hub for supporting SMEs, through the incubation program, through training and skills development, through analytical laboratory services. So SMEs have access to some of these services, which will help, one, the analytical services will help validate the products of the SMEs to ensure that quality is maintained.
And so it's these creatives and entrepreneurs within the cottage industries that the Makers Expo is empowering in the areas of textile, metal, woodwork, food and nutrition. Dennis Igoa for UBC Business.
Mbarara City Council leaders have appealed to all landlords in the city to cooperate with valuers who are going to start evaluating all the buildings in the city. The Deputy City Mayor, Muganzi Priscus, said this will help to increase revenue collection within the city.
Local Government Rating Act 2005 stipulates that all buildings and city councils are levied property rate tax. This is a 1900 legislature to help collect government revenue for purposes of development.
Property rates is a levy, a taxation, we can call it a tax, but it's a levy which is put or placed onto the payment of which is placed on the building owners of any jurisdiction that has been confirmed as sufficient to charge property tax. And those are town councils, municipalities, and cities.
Mbarara raises 1.5 billion on average, but since it's now a new city, they expect a lot of revenue.
The way property rate values are arrived at depends on the market value of the rent that people give. So we expect that the rent which was paid 5 years ago cannot be the same rent that is the market value of that rent has also increased.
The Deputy Mayor Muganzi Priska Mulongo has called upon all stakeholders to cooperate.
Have all witnessed development in a small period of time, regardless of challenges such as COVID-19. New buildings have been put up and others are still under construction. And all these are not captured and do not pay property rates.
One of the building owners, Agre Trijuche, said most of the buildings in the town lack tenants, so they should be considerate while leaving them.
I want to appeal to my fellow landlords to make sure we comply, because most of our buildings are vacant. And unless we declare that this is an empty space, shall the city council authorities confirm that the buildings are vacant.
The process will start by sensitizing all stakeholders in order to avoid complaints.
We want to ensure that everyone is visited, and we don't expect very many complaints since we shall be involving all those stakeholders, like I said.
Not 2/4.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll now go straight to talk sports. And in the world of sports, after triumphing at the source of the Nile 2022 marathon, Uganda Wildlife Authority, Alice Chebres, and Police's Marceline Chelangat are eyeing the Commonwealth Games. Chelangat, who was out of action due to maternity, believes she's now in shape to challenge.
Preparing for Commonwealth and World Championships. That have helped me in speed. Yeah, I have improved. I have to see that I have win a gold for Uganda in Commonwealth.
It is determination and focus in training. That's why I'm winning these races.
Number 4 was Kwemoy. Been successful, and to me to see the winners in Tororo also winning from here shows that we have young athletes, we have athletes, new athletes that are now coming on board strongly. For women, the person who won in Tororo and won here today is not new, but I'm excited about Marceline Chelangat because after 2018, when she won that bronze medal in Commonwealth Games, she took off time as a lady when she got a baby. So she has made a comeback, and for sure she has announced her huge comeback, and we are excited about that. Chebres Ali is a new name, and we are excited. You remember I promised Ugandans that brace ourselves for new names. So Chebres Ali is one of the new names. Others will come. Now I've advised his coach, I've also advised the management to ensure that bring him to track so that he qualifies for Birmingham, qualifies for Oregon, and they are positive about it.
Yes, with that we come to the end of what we had for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Let's have a look at the top stories as we wind up.
Brought to you by
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Micheal Municipality MP Francis Zake has challenged the jurisdiction of the Parliamentary Disciplinary Committee. Police has intercepted 6 juveniles who were being trafficked to the United Arab Emirates. An economic analyst has assessed the Ukraine-Russian war impact on Uganda, while demonstrations are ongoing to call off the Russian invasion on Ukraine.
Was brought to you by Everywhere you go, MTN.
Yes, we thank you so much for watching. That brings us to the end of what we had for you tonight. My name is Micheal Jordan Lukomwa with Elizabeth Nakakoni and the whole team. Wish you the best of the night. Let's catch you in our other programs. Bye-bye.
On the journey of AGOA, one of the things that first happened was to train over 2,000 girls.
So there were many problems for investors at the time I joined Uganda Investment Authority. And our role was to identify them, go to government and say, you've got to change this.